All right, so Kansas City's offense certainly playing much better, and you're seeing it on the scoreboard, and you're seeing it on the Chiefs' record here, now above 500 for a couple of weeks now after being either at 500 or below 500 the first few weeks of the season. Certainly having Xavier Worthy back, that helped back in week 4 when he returned from that injury. Rashee Rice missed the first 6 games due to a suspension. Ever since he returned, he's back in his form from last season prior to his injury. Up until his injury, he was in the top 5 in every key receiving category. And I know it's a small window, a small sample size, but still, Rashee Rice was balling out, was one of the best wide receivers last year, and everything he did last year, it's transferring over to this year in the couple of games that he's played. So the Chiefs offense certainly going to continue doing its thing with Rashee Rice. Hollywood Brown definitely continuing to get involved. I know he didn't have a reception in the last game, but still has been an important part for Kansas City's offense. But a lot of people have been asking lately, where is Tyquan Thornton? And maybe this is nitpicking or just looking to find something to talk about. But here's the thing. Tyquan Thornton in the first 3 games had 171 receiving yards. That was the most on the team the first 3 weeks. He played at least 72% of the snaps on offense for the Chiefs during those 3 games, each of those 3 games, I should say. And ever since week 4, Tyquan Thornton has not seen the field for at least more than 45% of the snaps. In week 4, Xavier Worthy returned. We only saw Tyquan Thornton have 1 catch. Now, that was a big catch. It was in the end zone. Scored on that play. But still played just 34% of the snaps, much lower than it had been the first 3 games, where he had at least 72%. Week 5 against Jacksonville, played a little more, had 45% of the offensive snaps. He had 3 catches for 90 yards. The problem is all of them were in the first half. I can only recall one time when he was targeted in the second half of that game, a fairly high-scoring game between the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Week 6, Sunday Night Football against Detroit, played just 17 snaps, 26% of the offensive snaps. No targets in this game. Against the Raiders, Rashee Rice returned. So that put him even a little lower on the depth chart. After Worthy returned and now Rice's return, he had just 1 catch against the Raiders. It was a big catch for 39 yards. He played 33% of the snaps, 27 snaps total in that game. And a lot of them were in the fourth quarter when the Chiefs started yanking Patrick Mahomes and a lot of the other starters late in the third quarter. Monday Night Football against the Commanders this past Monday, he only played 5 snaps. Only 5 snaps for Tyquan Thornton in this game. No targets. So for the second time in the last 3 games, Tyquan Thornton has not been targeted once by Patrick Mahomes. And a lot of people are asking, why isn't he getting involved more? And again, are people making too big of a deal out of this, considering the Chiefs are winning now? Perhaps that's one way to view it. But here's the thing. As sports fans, we like stories like the one Tyquan Thornton had back in week 3 where, he stepped up, had a couple of moments against the Chargers in that Brazil game. And then against the Eagles, no, they didn't win that game. But boy, he had that big touchdown catch to help cut the deficit to 3 and to at least give the Chiefs an opportunity in that game. And then against the Giants, when the Chiefs were still looking for their first win, he really came through in that game. Almost had 2 touchdowns in that game. One of them he was called just short, and a lot of people were just excited about the things he was doing, especially that catch where he was marked down at the 1-yard line. It was not an easy catch. He had the defender all over him in that one, and that's when people thought, wait a minute, this guy might be a very talented receiver that New England was just not able to figure out. The fact that he was a high draft pick, a second-round draft pick, went to New England, was crucified by fans in the media there, and he opened up about that in a press conference earlier this season. And now here he is in Kansas City, where he's comfortable. He is part of an offensive scheme where he seems like he's having a lot of fun. He's thriving in. He's very comfortable. He's got a great quarterback to work with. And listen, Drake May's certainly playing better now, not to discredit any of that there. And I think coaching has certainly changed things over in New England. But neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to make here is fans like these kinds of stories. So when fans get attached to a player that has this underdog type of story like Tyquan Thornton, and then they kind of vanish in the last couple of games, yeah, fans are certainly going to have their questions. People are going to want to know, why isn't Tyquan Thornton getting more involved? Because that should help the offense even more now. Let me just say this. You will see more of Tyquan Thornton this year, for sure. Now, keep one thing in mind. There aren't enough footballs to go around. And I said this in training camp when, which by the way, Tyquan Thornton had a great training camp. He was not the only one. And I'll get into the other receivers on the team, but Tyquan Thornton is someone who the Chiefs knew was a talented football player. If you just look at his scouting combine back in 2022, out of all offensive players, receivers and running backs, he had the fastest 40 time. And when Andy Reid can get someone with a fast 40 time, you know he's going to make it work for his offense. And we saw it the first 3 games, of course. I think at the end of the day, you have to consider you can have all these great receivers on your team. Look who the Chiefs have. They finally have that wide receiver trio that had been advertised for more than a year, really. Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy. Unfortunately, we never saw them together in a game last year because of all the injuries. Hollywood in the preseason, the first preseason snap. Rashee Rice early in the 4th game of the season. Those 3 guys never got going together. And so we saw them in training camp again and in the preseason, and now we finally see them in the regular season with Worthy recovered. Rashee Rice, his suspension is finally over with and in the past. Now these 3 guys, I mean, they're rocking and rolling together. And it's not just them. We're still seeing Juju Smith-Schuster get involved with this offense a little bit. Jalen Royals, the rookie who the Chiefs drafted in the 4th round out of Utah State, he also had a great training camp. He got involved quite a lot with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense from the second day of training camp. I thought he was the biggest surprise in training camp to me. Now, the crazy thing about Jalen Royals is, first of all, he missed a couple of games early due to a knee injury. And in the 4 games he's played, he hasn't played more than 19% of the snaps. Now, what I can tell you is the Chiefs really do like this guy. They drafted him for a reason. They loved what they saw from him in training camp. Unfortunately, he had some injuries that kept him out of preseason action, and that carried over into the first few weeks of the regular season. But he's been playing some snaps. We just haven't seen Mahomes throw the ball at his direction yet. And you know, this is part of the problem here. I've gotten some comments over the last few weeks, a lot of people asking, where's Noah Gray? Now, Noah Gray's made a couple of plays lately for the Chiefs, but with Travis Kelce, whose name I have not even mentioned yet, Travis Kelce he's more effective this year than he was last year. Go look up his yards per catch average. Last year was 8.5, the lowest of his career by a lot. This year, I think he's averaging almost 13 yards a catch. A big difference from last year to this year. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Kelce has the 2nd most receiving yards among tight ends. Not bad for a guy who's 36 years old and was supposedly washed up and was done playing football and was more focused on his personal life than football. Not bad at all. So Travis Kelce is a guy who, you know, he's getting a lot of the targets. Rashee Rice these last 2 games has been getting a lot of the targets. They're still getting Xavier Worthy involved. Again, I know Hollywood Brown did not have a catch on Monday Night Football, but overall, he's still getting involved with the offense. So, again, you just, unless you're running a snap every 30 seconds in a game, which is virtually impossible, there's no way to be able to give everyone an equal piece of the pie. That's just not going to happen. Now, what I can assure you is this. I think from a logical standpoint, you're not going to let Tyquan Thornton just sit there on the bench and let his talent stay there. I mean, listen, are things working right now with Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown? Yes, they are. But you're going to need Tyquan Thornton. Maybe it's going to be this Sunday against the Bills where you really will need all hands on deck, because Buffalo does not have a very good secondary. But their edge rushers, they're pretty damn good. And Bosa and Russo. Yeah, they lost Ed Oliver, but you can't count out those edge rushers there. And I think that can become a difference if the offensive tackles for the Chiefs struggle in this game. So Patrick Mahomes is going to need all hands on deck for Sunday's game. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that Patrick Mahomes will have a big play touchdown pass to either Xavier Worthy or Tyquan Thornton, the two fastest guys on the team at the wide receiver position. So I would imagine this is the type of game where Tyquan Thornton would get involved a little more compared to what it's been the last few weeks, ever since Xavier Worthy returned in week 4, and even fewer snaps ever since Rashee Rice returned in week 7. But listen, Andy Reid's obviously no dummy. I mean, this guy has been coaching for a very long time and has been very successful at it. I know it took him a long time to win his first championship, but he's been coaching at a very high level for a very long time. Andy Reid will get Tyquan Thornton involved. You just might not see it every single game because, again, I gave you all the wide receivers. I told you even Noah Gray. People have been commenting on my social media saying, where is this guy? Because Noah Gray had a really good season as a backup tight end last year, and he's still behind Travis Kelce on the depth chart. But the Chiefs are finding ways to get him involved a little bit. Again, not like last year where he had the back-to-back games where he had 2 touchdowns each. Might not be anything like that, but you'll still see some of Noah Gray this year. Listen, you'll get Jalen Royals involved at some point this year because you're going to need that, especially when you go up against these next 3 teams, the Bills, the Broncos, and the Colts. I know the Broncos offense has been inconsistent, but we've seen them light it up in a very short amount of time in the fourth quarter, twice, once against the defending Super Bowl champions and the other against the Giants, who, listen, not the greatest team, sure, but they look like they were on the right track at one point. And Denver found a way to erase that deficit. It was a big deficit too. So, and then you have Indianapolis, who, Daniel Jones, he's got a great comeback story. Jonathan Taylor lighting it up, maybe the front runner for Offensive Player of the Year. Kansas City's going to need all hands on deck for these next 3 weeks. And this is going to be a good opportunity to get Tyquan Thornton as well as Jalen Royals more involved. But trust me when I say, and again, as much as we love these kinds of stories that Thornton has had this year where he's been able to prove, hey, he's not the receiver he was in New England. He certainly is useful and can help add to an offense's arsenal like the one Patrick Mahomes has right now. Very heavy artillery for sure. But not everyone's going to get an equal piece of the pie. And I think that's what frustrates some Chiefs fans. That's why they care about this, even though the Chiefs are winning more right now, because they want to see this underdog in Tyquan Thornton get more involved and prove that New England made a mistake in letting him go last year. So you might not see it every single game, but I can assure you that the Chiefs are not going to let him just stick around on the sidelines and not do much. This is someone who they want to get more involved with the team this year. And I promise you, you'll see it probably this Sunday. And if not, you'll see him in some games have kind of similar to the game in Jacksonville, where he has 3 catches for a lot of yardage. You'll see that because defenses cannot account for every single, you can't double team everyone. There's going to be a lot of one-on-ones. And this Chiefs receiving core, they've got a lot of great speed. This receiver room possesses great speed to where defenders cannot win those one-on-one battles. And Mahomes is going to have a lot of options to choose from. And I'm sure Tyquan Thornton is going to be one that he's going to want to go to in some of these games this year, especially when it starts to heat up later in the season. Listen, I hope this doesn't happen. You never want to see it. The reality is when you get to December, and if you're fortunate enough to play into the 2nd or 3rd week of January, you're just not going to be at full strength. So God forbid, not that we ever want to see it, but if an injury occurs at the wide receiver room, well, guess who's going to have an opportunity to get more involved? It will be Tyquan Thornton. Again, hopefully that doesn't happen, but the reality is the longer the football season goes on for, especially if you have a deep run like the Chiefs have had all 7 years in the Patrick Mahomes era so far, odds are you might have an injury there. So this is a big reason why the Chiefs have the depth that they have, because if something were to happen to one of their key receivers, well, then guess what? You have guys like Tyquan Thornton and Jalen Royals you could probably rely on. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Even if the receivers stay healthy, I still think Tyquan Thornton is someone that can get involved in some games, and you'll see it as the season goes on.